developing a good relationship with the larger awareness. So when you shout out, hey, show me something important for me to see, or hey, let me experience unconditional love, that you get a conceptual response, but you have to open up to it and kind of surrender to it, because if you fight it or you resist it, then you're kind of garbling things. But when it comes to techniques, you can also use the larger awareness in other ways. So for example, sometimes I'll know that I want to have an experience that's going to be totally wild. I just know it's going to be totally wild. So when I ask the larger awareness, hey, let me experience this, I'll often say, but only for 1 minute. And then all of a sudden, the lucid dream will change. I'll be having this utterly profound experience. And then suddenly at 1 minute, boom, I'm back in a regular lucid dream.
Whoa.
So again, sometimes people, like you say, you'll ask for, let me see the meaning of my life projected on the wall. And all of a sudden it starts to appear, or it appears in mathematical formula, or it's scrolling by really quick. You know, that should be a lesson that the next time you have to be a little bit more maybe thoughtful in the question you pose. Like one time I shouted out, let me see my life, my entire life, as if it was a painting. And then in the sky, here's this giant painting about 60 feet long, and it's a symbolic expression of my entire life. And I was just like stunned to see it, because the amount of creativity that took to just create this incredible painting that's hanging there in the sky, I was just like awestruck to see it. But so when you're going with these big questions, you know, you might want to break it down into smaller questions first. Like I tell people, instead of trying to find God or find Buddha or that kind of stuff, it's much better to ask to experience a quality of the divine. Like, hey, let me experience unconditional love. Or hey, let me experience divine grace. Or hey, let me experience 1 minute of samadhi and see what happens. Because when you do that kind of thing, you have half a chance, but it helps to really think about what the question is and how to really pose it, and also to realize that you can work with the larger awareness more thoughtfully and ask it, you know, show it to me in a way that I can understand.
Yeah.
Something like that. Because sometimes I'd have a big dream and I'd wake up in the morning and I'd know it was a big dream, but then the next night I would have a dream of clarification. I would tell myself before I go to sleep, I'd go, look, hey, larger self, I know that dream last night was really important, but you have to treat me like a kindergartner because I did not get it. So now give me a dream that even a kindergartner could understand. And then that night, I'll have this very simple AB equals C kind of dream. And then I'll go, oh shit, I get it. That's amazing. And so you have to work with your larger awareness and not just get frustrated, because when you're interacting with a vast mind, which is your larger self, you really got to kind of get the answer in a way that you can use it and it's best for you.
Yeah, I discovered it's a lot about how you ask questions. Like it's almost, you know, it's almost like your higher self is making fun of you. Like, oh, you want to ask me a broad question? I'm going to give you all the answers because I know everything, and I'm going to present it in a way that's going to be way too overwhelming for you. And I'm going to answer exactly what you asked for. And if you don't, sometimes if you're not mindful enough to restrict the question, you're just going to get the whole answer, and you can just not consciously process it, you know?
Yeah, you know, there was I brought in one of my Lucid Dream Experience magazines, the September 2016 edition, and on page 33 is an article by Brian Ahern. I know this guy from the Facebook because he's really big on the wild method. That's all he wants to talk about, pretty much, it seems like. And that's okay. If that's your method that works for you, that's great. But this is what he did, and he reports in his article. He became lucidly aware, and he wondered, he shouted out, why do turtles little turtles. Why do turtles travel so very far in their migration compared to other animals? Because we know in waking life, you'll have these turtles go all the way from the Hawaiian Islands all the way to South America and stuff. And he said, he writes this, I'm going to just read it. For a few moments, nothing happened, no response. I prepared myself to ask the question again, as sometimes it takes 2 or 3 times to begin to get any answers. But before I could actually voice anything, I suddenly found myself looking at what seemed to be an older map of the Earth comprised of one single continent. And
oh
then,
my God.
as I watched in open-mouthed amazement, it broke into several continents in a slow time lapse. And now these turtles, breeding only several hundred miles away originally, gradually were forced to travel further and further as the land masses drifted apart over what must have been thousands and thousands of years. And so this information might be lodged in our collective unconscious, or in all that genetic information. We might actually have a history of the Earth. And a lot of geologists feel that at one time there was just one single continent that later broke apart and then drifted apart in the tectonic plate theory. But for Brian, he said he was just totally stunned just to see it kind of basically happening in front of his eyes, and now understanding why it is that turtles have these giant migrations. But is any biologist going to write to him and ask him, to use this in some study? I don't know, but it just shows you that this information might all be in our mind. It's just we need a way to access it.
So technically, we always understood math perfectly fine, but then we just forgot about it. We can't access it anymore. We mess up in math scores.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so. We'll see. But to Jeff Peck's and other people's question and your question, I'll tell you, as it occurs now, my lucid dreams seem to be one or the other. They're either incredibly simple, like 2 nights ago, I found myself about 300 feet above the ground, standing on a piece of concrete, and suddenly I realized how silly this was, and I just started flying. And I spent the entire lucid dream just flying around having fun. So that's what I call a simple lucid dream. But then my other lucid dreams are incredibly deep, and they're so deep, sometimes when I wake up in the morning, I barely know what to put in my dream journal because the ideas are so complex. And so I have this kind of strange lucid dream world now of really complex things and really simple things. And then I'll have lucid dream experiences like I was giving a talk in San Jose, California. And
oh my God. That's literally where I live. I'm so angry. I'm literally in San Jose right now.
A month ago. And so there was a person there who told me that this person no longer could recall their dreams. And there'd been some traumatic life event and all. And so I suggested how the person might want to approach recalling their dreams, but the person said they'd already tried that and it hadn't worked, that the dreams hadn't come back. And so I told the person, I go, look, I'm not doing anything tonight. I'll just see if I can dream about it. And that night, oh my gosh, this is another thing. When you're dreaming for somebody else, oftentimes their dream symbols suddenly appear. Because, for example, in that particular night, I was being pulled around by a jaguar. I had a jaguar by kind of a leash and another animal, and they were pulling me all around through the dream. And when I woke up, I realized that this person actually had a spiritual calling that they weren't listening to, and that they were kind of denying, because sometimes when you're called, it's just so powerful you don't want to respond, and so you shut down your dreaming. You just wall it all off. So that's why when people sometimes ask me about my current lucid dreams, I can talk about the simple ones and the easy to understand ones, but the other ones are they're just way out there. So.
Oh, give us a little tidbit. Give us one cool experiment, maybe something you said.
Well, I'll tell you one interesting thing that happened in one, and I'm not going to tell you what I was doing, but I was lucidly aware. And as I went through darkness, lucidly aware, I saw green phosphorescent light that suddenly became a green dragon. And I'll tell you, seeing a green dragon of light appear in a lucid dream, that was really trippy, because it didn't really connect with me. But when I wrote the person who was in the lucid dream and told the person what had happened, the person said, "Oh, you don't know this, but in waking life, I'm doing a very esoteric Buddhist meditation that involves a green dragon."